Hi guys, and welcome to part 99 of Skyrim Mod Sanctuary. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at a mod called Elemental Dragons, which is a mod that adds a lot of new dragons with a lot of new abilities. The mod actually adds 45 new dragons. However, the mod author does state that they replace the vanilla dragons, so instead of finding the usual suspects when a dragon attacks, it will be one of the 45 new dragons. The mod also overhauls the sort of loot you're going to get from dragons, adding a lot of unique little items. So for example, you can get potions that are basically the blood of the dragon, and they will give you some nice benefits, perhaps poisons. You can use the heart of the dragon to get a perk. That's very, very rare indeed, but it can happen. You can use the meat. The meat actually has special properties, will increase your regeneration for 12 hours, and you can even take scales. There are these scales that you can use as a sort of a talisman. You can wear them on your body. They take a completely unused slot, so they work well with your armor, and they all have different abilities. The mod does change a few things with the named dragons, and it does actually change the way the combat affects some of the NPCs. It essentially makes a lot of the NPCs completely immune, or take very little damage from the dragon, with a few exceptions. So for example, you take full damage, as do bandits, animals and creatures. But things like guards and stuff, or people named NPCs, don't take as much damage, and the reason for this is probably because this mod adds so many new ways of getting killed by dragons. A single dragon attack could possibly depopulate an entire hole, so this is actually a pretty good idea. But probably the most impressive thing about this mod are the effects. The special attacks that these dragons get are very powerful, they're very interesting, but they are spectacular. And the tougher the dragon, the more spectacular the effects. And to give you some idea, I will show you some of my favourite dragons from this mod. Now of course you still have the basic fire dragon and ice dragon types. They are a little more impressive and their abilities are far more spectacular, as you can see, but they are there. You also have some new elemental types. For example, there is rock. You actually have the earth dragon who can send massive chunks of rock flying around. And you have something called the wind dragon, which was actually quite difficult to fight with all this sort of buffeting tornadoes. And he has this amazing sort of wind shield that just keeps knocking you back, which is going to be really annoying if you're a melee character. And of course you have dragons that will shoot lightning, the thunder dragon. You have a green dragon that will hit you with poison. And you even have something called the blood dragon, which is a kind of vampiric dragon, a dragon that can drain health from you. Oh, and of course you have to have a skeletal dragon. But wait until you meet something like the sunlight dragon. This is a dragon that will hit you with giant beams of sunlight that come out of the sky like some sort of orbital strike. I can only imagine how painful this is going to be if you're a vampire, but even as a non-vampire character, this dragon was insanely tough. And then there was its counterpart, the Eclipse Dragon, a dragon that blocks out the sun itself and can, like the blood dragon, can drain you of health and can summon these horrible blood-covered spikes out of the ground to impale you. You have invisible dragons that are pretty hard to see. You have illusion dragons that will actually summon phantom dragons to fight you as well. There's the Mystic Dragon, which is a bit of a mind-altering experience. And the Apocrypha Dragon, a dragon that will bring a little taste of Hermaeus Mora's Plane of Oblivion to the land of Skyrim, along with some of its denizens. There are Storm Dragons, Blizzard Dragons and Inferno Dragons, and these will not just hit you with fire and ice and lightning. They will summon other creatures, some very strange, large and dangerous creatures, to help bring you down. These are actually some very, very tough dragons. The fights are very difficult indeed, and indeed this is a recurring theme in this mod. You have things like the Spriggan dragon, which can summon Spriggans. One of the Earth dragons can summon Earth golems. So you'll be fighting a lot of other things alongside the dragon, and this is especially true of the Dragon Lich, which not only can summon some of the strangest skeletal creatures I've ever seen, with sort of vaguely ebony-covered bones on things like mammoths, normal skeletons, and skeletons with wheels, but it can also raise the dead. Anything that's dead in the neighborhood will be raised to fight you. And it will keep getting raised, no matter how many times you kill it. It will keep getting raised and coming back at you. These fights are tough. And just in case this was not enough, at level 60, there are enhanced versions of all of these dragons with new, even more powerful abilities. And finally, there are the silver dragons, the gold dragons, and even a dragon called a melt dragon, which is a dragon that seems to ooze lava. However, I can tell you the pictures of the melt dragon on the mod page look very different to the ones in my game. So there may actually be a problem in my game. So, you know, when you see the melt dragon on my video, it probably is going to look different. I couldn't quite get it working. However, it looked pretty impressive, as you can see. Although I have to say, riding the Melt Dragon does not look comfortable. And you do seem to be able to ride all of these dragons, including the Fat Dragon, a very popular dragon on my live stream, which is indeed a very chubby little dragon that spits water at you, actually. There is another variation of the Fat Dragon, or at least there seems to be. It's called the Balmer Dragon. This is a pinkish dragon that is a little on the overweight side, and this dive bombs and drops massive balls of fire. Oh, but don't be fooled by the somewhat comical appearance of these dragons. They are still very deadly. Now, believe it or not, I have not actually covered all the different types of dragons. I haven't mentioned the Cobalt Dragon or the Aqua Dragon that shoots water. There are so many dragons, I probably don't have time to cover them all. Some of them are variations on existing dragons, on themes I've presented. Some of them are completely new. But there is enough variety in this mod to keep dragon fights entertaining, interesting, and challenging for a long, long time. And as I mentioned, a lot of the named dragons get a boost as well. They've got more health and they've got far more interesting and powerful abilities. So those fights are going to be tougher too. Fairly obviously, one issue is going to be compatibility with existing Dragon Overhaul mods. And the mod author does state that you can get some compatibility with deadly dragons. You can create a bash patch or a merge patch and get the level lists merged, so you get both the dragons from elemental dragons and the dragons from deadly dragons. But I can tell you that will mean none of the enhancements that deadly dragons adds to vanilla dragons are added to the elemental dragons, so you don't get armor, for example. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about that. When I checked the health of all of these dragons, the elemental dragons seem to have slightly more health than the deadly dragons. Now obviously, they don't have the armor, which is going to make them a little more susceptible to damage, but their abilities do seem to be far more powerful, and I think they're probably quite well balanced with each other already. I'm not sure if it's possible for somebody to make a patch that actually applies the deadly dragons changes to elemental dragons, and perhaps it is, but if they do, I have a feeling the elemental dragons are going to be seriously, seriously painful. I did not try it with ultimate dragons, but the mod author suggests that it probably isn't a good idea, and he pretty much says he doesn't know anything about Dragon Combat Overhaul. I did try it briefly with that mod and nothing bad happened, but I can't tell you how compatible they are at the moment. The page for Dragon Combat Overhaul does suggest it should be compatible with most mods, it is changing just the behaviour. Overall, Elemental Dragons is a very impressive mod. It adds a lot of new dragon types. It makes the combat with those dragons really exciting, really fun, and really tough. I thoroughly enjoyed testing this mod, and a big thanks to all of the people who joined me live to help me test this. It really was a lot of fun. I have not tested it in a full playthrough, so I can't tell you how well it scales through the levels as you start from a weak character to a strong character, but I have to say I would be giving serious thought to putting this in my load order if I was to do that. Anyway guys, that is all for this video. I am going to end with screenshots that you guys have been posting. Big thank you as always to the guys who have been posting, and if you want to post your own screenshot, there is a link down below that will take you to my Nexus page. You can post the images there. I hope you guys can join me for the next episode of Skyrim Mod Sanctuary, the 100th episode, and I will look forward to seeing you there. And until then, remember, as always, have fun.